It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen.
Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. We are back with another edition of The Oil Stream brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. If you have not tried the Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich, you haven't lived yet. And they've got 12 locations, 7 of them right in the Edmonton area, and they are the presenting sponsor here of The Oil Stream. And also, if you are a fan of large sodas or collector cups, they've got you covered as well. Pick these bad boys up. Mr. Gazzola, how are you, buddy?
Hello, Dusty Nielson. I like that little intro. Hello,
you like that?
Viewers and listeners. Yeah, it was Friday casual Friday. I've got the party cardi on. Let's do it, baby.
You look like you're ready to go. Yeah, you're ready to head into the weekend. You're so fired up for Saturday's Don Wheaton on White pregame show, Tommy.
It's weird. I haven't done one since Monday, and so all that pent-up energy and emotion is just going to be blasted out on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Can't wait.
Hour and a half episode with Gazzola on TSN 1260. We've got lots to get to. We're going to do a mailbag. We got some good questions sitting around here on Twitter, so we'll wrap up the week with the mailbag. We'll get to some of this Glendenning stuff. That's going to happen as well. A little bit of deadline day talk. Oilers and Leafs, obviously a huge game Monday, huge game Saturday as well. And you know what? That actually kind of starts with, let's get into the line combinations. Considering they've been practicing all week and really nothing else to do, I am a little surprised that Tippett's sticking with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Puljujarvi, according to huge fan of the Oil Stream, a guy who actually is texting me right now, Jack Michaels. McDavid, Puljujarvi, and Draisaitl, Nuge, Yamo, Kahun, Haas, Cassian, Archibald, Jujhar Khaira, Devon Shore, and Chason, and then Turris, Ennis, and Neal, I guess, on the outside looking in. Tommy, let's just start with your thoughts on those 12 forwards heading into this game against the Leafs.
Well, let's see how it goes. That's the way I look at it at this point. I mean, everything generally outside of those 3 games against the Leafs and then the early parts of this season has worked for this team, offensively specifically with the amount of goal production that this team has gotten. Obviously, the backhand has contributed a lot to the goal production and offensive totals. But, I mean, it didn't work with whatever they threw at Toronto last go-round earlier this month. Tippett trying something a little bit different. We saw him stack up Draisaitl and McDavid together with Yamamoto the first go-round. And let's see how it looks with Puljujarvi. Great. If it doesn't work, Dusty, I guarantee you Dave Tippett will have his finger on the pulse, right on the button, and he'll hit that blender button and he'll get things switched up in a heartbeat. And that's the way he coaches, and we shouldn't be surprised if that happens if it's not working. If it's working, he'll stick with it. And we've seen McDavid, Draisaitl have a lot of success this year and in years prior as well.
I'm a little surprised that he didn't go back to the original top 6 with a week of practice. Like, you're rolling, you're going into against Montreal, you want to put that line together because they were just together previous game. I get that, I understand that, but you had an opportunity to completely reset, and he stuck with it. So I mean, I'm smiling like a pig in poop right now, Tommy, because yes, he's going to get a chance to run with them, but I'm a little surprised that he's sticking with it. Now, does the ability for that line to stay together essentially come down if Kahun, Nuge, and Yamo can produce? Like, if those guys click, then bingo bango, you're off and running here.
Yeah, there's no problems if that line clicks. And Tippett says he's liked that line. He's liked Nugent Hopkins a little bit at center. Nugent Hopkins says he's feeling good at center. If him and Yamamoto can get a good thing going and Kahun can play well and contribute, then you have no issues whatsoever. Stick with what's working. If that's what's working at the time, why change it? Why change it? Just let it roll. And then if it's not working, you change it. It's as simple as that. And I know it's our job and people like to overanalyze things and get into hypotheticals and see what should and shouldn't work. Yeah, no, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird, especially in good old our town? If it works, great. If it doesn't, switch it up. Let's see what happens. I'm eagerly anticipating watching to see how this does work out against the Leafs. Leafs have struggled a little bit since they played the Oilers. The Oilers have been cruising along nicely. It's an experiment. Let's see how it goes.
We could literally do an episode once a week just on possible D pairings in 2024. And we would still get people downloading it because they love it. I mean, they absolutely love it. You're right. It's and we basically started the oil stream in the middle of a pandemic with no hockey and did 4 months of it. And people were still watching and downloading. So lucky us, I guess. If you are watching on the live stream right now, download the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. Just search the oil stream on all of your podcasting platforms. What do you expect from the Oilers after having such a long layoff? I think the perfect opponent coming off of a layoff. You should get you fired up here to play the Toronto Maple Leafs. McDavid held pointless those last 3 games. Like, are you expecting the Oilers to come out firing all guns a-blazing, or do they kind of work their way back into NHL action, essentially?
Well, it's not like they haven't been off for, a ton of time. It's been... They were ready to go for a Monday night game. So I don't know if this isn't even like a traditional bye week either, Dusty, where they went away, came back.
That's true.
Some guys went and flew out of country and sat on a beach and got fat and sassy, drinking and eating like crazy with their wives or girlfriends or whatever. That didn't happen. These guys have been practicing the entire time. So it shouldn't be too much of a rust factor at all. I think they're going to be full of energy. I think they're going to be motivated. I think they're going to keep in mind what happened to them against the Leafs, and they're going to use that and maybe try to get a little bit of vengeance, which would be tremendous. And I expect a good jump from this team in both games, and I expect a better result, quite frankly, because they're playing better than they were when, in those games. They were rolling really nicely into that 3-game set, but they got schooled, man. They got caught with their pants down, and they got smacked.
A bare butt spanking by Austin Matthews and that weird little mustache.
It really is.
I don't want to spoil the Lock Shop stream and podcast I'm doing later tonight, but I like the Oilers as an underdog on Saturday. I think they're going to come out and bring it against the Maple Leafs. So I think that should be a pretty good game on Saturday night. And then we'll see what obviously happens on Monday. All right, lots of other things to get to. Like I said, some really good mailbag questions we'll get to. But Frank Saravalli on Insider Trading last night said the Edmonton Oilers have their target. They're looking for a right shot center who can win faceoffs for them. As far as ones they could reasonably afford, Tommy, the only answer here is basically they're in the Luke Glendening market. Does that significantly change or improve the team in any way? And is this a path that you think Ken Holland should take a look at?
Does it improve the team significantly? No. Quite honestly, no. This is not a sexy list. Glendening, Derek Ryan, Sutter out of Vancouver. I mean, this is supposed to be where Kyle Turris was the stopgap, and it clearly has not happened, and much to my chagrin and disappointment. Dusty, it doesn't move the needle. Quite frankly, when I watched Insider Trading yesterday, and I saw that's what was the target and what Frank was putting out, and the boys from the panel there were putting out, I was like, okay. I mean, things seem to be rolling okay without that other right shot centerman not named Gaetan Haas, who I think has been effective and decent and it seems to be okay. Is there really an improvement in Gaetan Haas in a Luke Glendening? I'd argue no. Is there an improvement over Gaetan Haas and Derek Ryan? Yeah, probably a little bit, but he's more expensive. Is there an improvement in Sutter over Gaetan Haas? Yeah, probably a little bit with a motivated Sutter and a better experience, more playoff ready type body. But at the end of the day, I'm like, is the uptick that significant? No. The answer, I think, is no.
I saw it and I was like, ooh, okay, this is interesting. And then they did point out he's having the best face-off percentage in the entire league this year. Like, I do think that, like, does that change the team in a significant way? Probably not, but could it be very handy for Tippett on defensive zone faceoffs to throw Glendening out there? As Mike Johnson labeled it this morning, does he simply become a FOGO guy? Face off, get off, essentially. FOGO, face off, get off, face off, get off. And, guys have developed into that role. You get out there on a big penalty kill, win the draw, get it down the ice. I do think there could be something to him improving the penalty kill by the ability to win faceoffs. So we'll see what happens. What I find a little bit interesting is that I was told this morning that Ken Holland and Glendening are pretty close. Like, when they'd send him down to the American League, Kenny Holland would give him a drive. Kenny Holland just likes probably having great relationships with people. But apparently,
Yes.
Glendening is one of Holland's favorite players. So I think there's a tie in there. I could see Holland really wanting to bring in his guy in that role, considering Turris hasn't been able to give them that. Haas isn't experienced in that role. If Glendening and Jujhar Khaira are your bottom 6 centers, if Khaira continue to play the way he is, I really don't see a designated 3 center or 4 center. It's basically just a couple of bottom 6 guys who can kill penalties for you, right?
So essentially, it's a luxury that the Oilers would like to have, and it's eerily reminiscent of the Chris Osgood story, the relationship between him and Ken Holland, where Osgood, I believe, came out and practiced or played ball hockey in the league that Ken Holland was running when he was a kid or really young and junior, and they became really tight. And then next thing you know, Osgood's winning a Stanley Cup with the Ken Holland Detroit Red Wings. So I'm assuming now, having heard this little tidbit of gold, that Luke Glendening is an Oiler next season.
He's going to be an Oiler, right?
There you go. Yeah. Mark this date and this time stamp of when we did this show. And by July 2nd or whenever free agency is supposed to be, you and I are talking about Luke Glendening, the Oiler.
March 26th, 12:28 in the afternoon, he officially became future Oiler Luke Glendening. That's we've labeled it for you right here.
Stamp it with the Oil Stream seal of approval, and we're good to go. Don't open that envelope until free agency.
I think one of the other reasons that this name pops up is because it would come at a very affordable price. Like I'm not, if I'm Ken Holland, I'm not giving up anything better than a 4th round pick for Glendening, right? I mean, maybe even in a good year, let alone a year where you're not going to be able to use him that much. So before we get to the mailbag, one of the things that popped up, and I wanted to talk about it anyway, Tommy, do you think 7 less days of quarantine changes anything for the Oilers specifically prior to the deadline?
Ultimately, my gut says no. It makes it more enticing. So if there is a deal you might be looking at and probably leaning no because of the quarantine, this might make you take another look at it and say, hey, is it worth it? And reevaluate. I don't know if it moves the needle completely in the yes direction. My gut still says no. I mean, we're hearing GMs now across the board just saying, hey, the phone's not ringing. Some of them are saying, I'm doing all the calling. I think Chuck Fletcher was the one who said that. But Mark Bergevin coming out the other day and being like, I don't think there's going to be a trade. That's the one where I was like, maybe that's the indicator to everyone that this truly will be a dud trade deadline. Yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see. Of course, we'll still have full coverage for you talking about all the trades that aren't happening. I mean, if they do acquire Glendening, it'll probably be the most downloaded episode of the Oil Stream in the history of this entire thing, Tommy.
Rightfully so. And I can't wait to be a part of it.
Why wouldn't it be? All right, let's get to some mailbag to wrap up a Friday. Got some pretty good questions in here that kind of tie into the deadline and some other things as well. So you can ask a question right now if you are watching on the live stream. Feel free, but I've got some from Twitter a little bit earlier on. Sean says, I keep hearing about this Jesse Puljujarvi kid. Is he any good? Yes, Sean, he is. Here we go. Here's one from Kelly. And there's a lot of talk, actually, about that line in the American Hockey League. There are a lot of questions about that, so we'll get into that here a little bit. Kelly says, is Benson part of the long-term plans in Edmonton? If not, now might be the best time to move him while his value is high, even to replenish some traded draft picks. Tommy, let's start there. What do you think?
I think Benson is still part of the plan. He's still a young player, and I know he's kind of on that cusp of is he an NHL or is he an AHLer? Well, I think this year he's proving that he's ready to graduate from the AHL. Let him play out the season and let's see what he can do. He's working on his penalty killing. He's working on the defensive side of his game. We heard Jay Woodcroft talking about that this week. At the same time, he's putting together an excellent offensive season where him and Marody are leading the league in scoring, and they've got Ryan McLeod playing extremely well. So we're going to keep an eye on McLeod, obviously, too. I do think he's part of the future going forward. You look at the contracts in that 3-4 center slot or even on the wing for the Oilers, you've got guys on one-year deals that are a little bit older or that are less effective, that it might be time to look at Tyler Benson as a full-time NHLer. Now, is that me saying he's going to be thrust right into a full-time, every day, every game role? Maybe not. Maybe he has to be the 13th forward for a little bit and get in and start to get his feet wet and comfortable at the NHL level. That might be the case, or you know what? He just outright wins the spot, maybe in camp next season, and he is third, fourth line winger, or he plays center. Who knows? But I think he is part of the plans. Absolutely. Why would he be the forgotten and passed aside guy? There's no reason for that.
Speeds is asking, tying into Bakersfield here as well, would you use the reduced quarantine time to look at any or all of the Bakersfield top line in Edmonton, thinking that if they are ready, maybe that cuts off a need for a trade up front? And does that change/impact where Holloway plays if he is signed? Tommy, personally, I think you just leave that line where they are. And I know everybody's excited about it, and I don't want to be the old Grinch bah humbug, but we have to remember the American Hockey League is extremely watered down this year with the taxi squad. Like, the American Hockey League is not as strong as it usually is. Now, I mean, they're lighting it on fire, so it's not like they're just having some success. But I think we do need to keep that in mind, don't we?
Absolutely. That's a very good point. And the other answer, too, is no, there's no rush to get these guys up. You've got so many guys that are NHL players that aren't even everyday players in the lineup. Use the Oilers as an example. You've got James Neal. I know he's had a rough year. His health, whatever's going on there, the COVID situation has not helped. You've got Tyler Ennis, who's been playing well today, skated on the fifth line. And then you've got a guy that's been in the league for the last 12 years in Kyle Turris, who hasn't been great this season, obviously, who's also waiting in the wings. And then you've got Nygaard as well. So there's no need to bring these guys up this season until a black ace scenario comes up, like playoff time. Maybe the Oilers go into the second or third round and the Condors are done. That's when you bring them up.
That'd be great.
Get them their experience. Do not bring them up during the season. Don't interrupt what they're doing right now. Let them continue to have this progression and build that confidence. They're not going to have as much of an impact if they even get the call up. I think it does more harm than good to bring these guys up. Any one of the three. Honestly, just let them do their thing. Let them finish that season up. And then if the Oilers are still playing, get them up here. Let them quarantine. They become black aces. Let them be a part of the experience. Who knows? For whatever reason, maybe they get into a game in the playoffs. That's a hypothetical. Just leave them alone.
Thought we may be able to dodge these bullets, but Travis on Twitter says, can Ken Holland make it work to bring back Hall? Is that a move you can see fit with the current Oilers club? Do you think there is a personality issue with the player, as per rumors we have heard over the years? So it pops up again. Like, you can't say, hey, ask us Oilers questions without somebody bringing up Taylor Hall.
When I hear it, I roll my eyes. It comes up on the pre and post game show. I'm just going to say basta, no more, as my grandma would say. Basta? Basta, no more.
Basta.
It's not going to happen. There's no reason for it to happen. Taylor Hall's having an absolutely atrocious season on an atrocious team. And what's going on with the Oilers right now is working. And I don't think he really moves the needle. I really don't think it's necessary. I think this conversation needs to stop. And
it's not going to.
It needs to stop. It's not going to happen. Not with the way he's playing, not with the price tag and the economics of the NHL and where the Oilers are at right now. Enough.
It just does seem very unrealistic in almost every single aspect of the discussion.
There's like this sense of the fan base, a small portion of the fan base that feels they were so slighted in that trade for Adam Larsson that they need this wrong to be righted. That's my take on it. Just stop. It's over. It's done with. It's not happening.
I feel like he could be 42 years old and retired for 3 years, and somebody in Edmonton would be like, think they could bring Halsey out of retirement, throw him on the wing?
Still got wheels.
Guy can still wheel, no problem. Why not? It's weird. I look at it like, as an organization, you have finally turned the corner with McDavid and Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins and, Darnell Nurse as your core leading the way. Those are the guys who got you here. Why would you dive back into the decade of darkness for the guy who was supposed to get you there in the first place just to bring him back again? so many aspects of it just don't make any sense. And I went off on it this morning in the whole, I just don't understand it. And it still carries over right now. I just don't think this is an organization. First of all, I don't really think he'd be a great fit in that top 6 anyway. And second of all, I don't think it's an organization that needs to focus on that spot. There's so much talk about a scoring winger, and I mean, he's had one great year, but his shooting percentage usually is in like 8 to 10%. So he's not even classified as a scoring winger. And I think that is still, I mean, solidifying your blue line and goaltending has to be focus number one. If you get that taken care of in the offseason, Tommy, then you sprinkle in what you got left up front, don't you?
Yeah, Dusty, where are the Oilers at in offensive production and goals right now?
They're 3rd in the league.
Yeah. What's the issue here?
I don't know.
And then the other thing too is like, I mean, we get pestered and peppered with this question all the time. It's pretty consistent and coming at us on a day-to-day basis that I finally like put it out there to a few people like, hey, I'm reluctant to ask this. I have to because it keeps being thrown at us. Would this scenario ever occur? And you know, why? And after that gets like poo-pooed and said, no, probably not back here in Edmonton. I said, hey, does the fact that this guy, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, got along very well with him his entire time in Edmonton, is the fact that he's always on a team that doesn't do well or have any success start to weigh in and factor in on people trying to acquire him? Is that becoming a thing? And the short answer was, yeah, people look at that around the league, executives, and go, why has this guy not been on a good team that's gone anywhere in the postseason? He's made the playoffs twice now, once with the Coyotes, where they upset Nashville in the play-in, and then he made it once with the Devils, and they were done in 5 games. And people are becoming leery of that. Call it, one of those curses or whatever it is in pro sports, but that's something, Dusty, that's starting to creep into people's minds in the National Hockey League.
All right, let's wrap up the episode. Leafs, Oilers, Saturday night, Tommy. What do you think you're talking about post-game on TSN 1260?
I think we're talking about an Oilers win. I think they split this series, so I think the Leafs get them on Monday, and I think we're talking about just to get over that mental hurdle, them finally doing it, and then that also will bring the good vibes to the fan base who are leery of facing the Maple Leafs if it is to occur in the postseason. That's my take. It'll be a pumped up Saturday night. People will be sipping on those wobbly pops and social sparklers. They'll have a good time Saturday and then come crashing down on Monday after a tough loss. And then the Oilers can go into a quiet week and reshift and refocus their attention to finishing up the stretch strong.
And that means we can turn our focus on Wednesday to the teacher, professor, principal TV movie draft on the Nielsen Show. Tommy, get your scouting staff ready, bud.
I will. I'm going to have to do my research.
All right, that's going to do it for us. If you've been watching on the live stream, subscribe to the podcast. If you've been listening to the podcast, thank you for the support. Once again, it's brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. For Tom Gazzola, I'm Dustin Nielsen saying thank you very much for watching, listening, and downloading. And enjoy the weekend. We'll be back next week. See you later, Tommy.
See you, Dusty.